Hi, everybody. I am thrilled to have here today our special guest and maybe even a bit of a mini superstar. so, I'm Amina Motala. Welcome to the show. And I have here today Lea Thompson, Girl Gone Crypto, and welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Oh, no, I appreciate it. It's going to be fun. I've been following you for a while, but we haven't really actually gotten to chat too much yet. So this will be fun just to hang out and talk crypto.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think we were both in Vegas, but we never really connected, I don't think.
No, I don't. Yeah, conferences are funny like that, right? Like you can keep running into the same people and then get home and realize there's certain people you didn't even see at all.
Yeah, exactly. And I know for that one, I didn't really go out to too many of the events at night. So that could be why I missed a bunch of people too. I was pretty much crashing early when I was in Vegas. You'd think in Vegas you'd be out late and having a good time, but I was so tired. So, but anyway, yeah, I know this is great. Thanks for coming. And I did say kind of like a superstar because lately on Twitter, you've been getting a ton of attention. And I had to read the tweet twice to see if I read that correctly, because you and your sister have a show on Steam It. And I guess somebody, you can tell the story, caught a glimpse of a clip of yours and used it for the Super Bowl commercial. I'm not really giving it all away here, but so why don't you tell the story? We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, it's such a crazy story. Yeah, so my sister and I, we have, so I've been on Steam It for a couple of years, posting, in various types of content. And about a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years ago now, my sister and I started a talk show on there that it's super casual. Like we literally just drink wine and talk about life. I don't know, we just talk about random things. And so yeah, we've been doing that show for a while, and somehow this media company found us and really liked a clip from our show and just asked if they could use it in a commercial. And so we licensed that one little second to them. Wow. And yeah, it's really interesting because I think the way that they found us, because the campaign for the commercial was they had two Super Bowl commercials. They had a yes and a no campaign. And so the one that we're in, we're like, yes, that's the little clip. And the title of that show was The Power of Saying Yes, because the week before it, we had done an episode on the power of saying no and talking about boundaries and things like that. And we're always trying to think of new topics, because when you do a show for, almost 2 years, you get, you get a little tired on topics. And so we were like, we should do one on the power of saying yes. That'd be funny. So I think they were just Googling yes. I don't even know what they were Googling, but somehow they came across us on Steam.
I wonder if I could play the commercial here. I've never done this before, but if I share the screen and maybe play the clip, should we try it? Let's see.
Sure. Why not?
I have it set up. So let's see if this works. Hang on.
I don't know if YouTube will take it, think it's a copyright issue or not. I don't know. That would maybe be the only thing I would think about. But
okay, so here we go. And yeah, I can do it. Oh, wait a sec. There's no sound. Oh, I know why. Hang on. I have to do this.
Yes, sure.
I'm going to start this over.
Yes! Yes, sure. Yes.
Yes, yeah, no problem.
Yes. Yes! Yes!
Discovered, accepted at over 95% of places in the U.S.
Yes! Yes. Yes.
There you are.
Sure.
There I am, yeah. With Lindsay Lohan and, Ted and all sorts of random people.
So how do I do this? How do I bring you back?
Maybe if you stop sharing your screen.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how. Oh, stop share. It's right there. There we go. There was nothing there that people shouldn't see, but anyway. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. And what a great little clip that they chose. Someone had a really good eye, I guess, and probably a crypto, maybe blockchain fan or something to be on your show to have seen that, I would think. So
Well, what's interesting is I don't know that they even know that Steam is like a crypto related thing because what's kind of funny is like the commercials for Discover Card, which is, you know, like obviously a big player in the like traditional financial system that kind of Bitcoin is fighting against. And so at first I was like, God, I don't know, should I like work with them? Because that's kind of like the opposite of what I am trying to support. And I was like, well, I guess I could accept fiat from a, you know, a large financial institution so I could buy more Bitcoin. That would be okay. So.
absolutely. Like, why not? I mean, this is how we onboard, right? This is where we're
Mhm.
at in the world right now. So I think it's fantastic and good for you. I mean, it was really catchy. Anyway, how much fun. It's a fun thing you did. And I think that's great for crypto too. We certainly enjoyed it in the Twitter community. I mean, it was a lot of fun to pass around and share. And it's nice to see that. It's nice to see our fellow crypto family members, you know, getting out there in the big space. So good stuff. I guess you can't retire off of that one.
No, not quite. You know, I think probably Lindsay Lohan and the rest of them made a little bit more on that commercial than we did,
Right.
but but
Funny.
still, it's nice, you know. And you know, like you were just saying, it's just fun. And now, what's someone mentioned this the other day, and I thought this was genius. Is anytime someone ever asks me for a random fun fact about myself, I'll always have a good go-to answer now. I can be like,
Yeah.
well, I was in a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah,
So,
seriously. Yeah, you never heard of Bitcoin? Well, you know, it made it to Super Bowl. So
mhm.
very cool. So then you were on Steam It with your sister, and you still are. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh,
Mhm.
cool. Cool. And that's been running, you said, for 2 years.
Yeah, our show started in April of 2018, and so in April it'll be 2 years for our show. But I've been on Steam longer than that, so I've been posting on Steam it since 18, 17. So I'll be my 3 years on Steam pretty soon here. So
Okay. And that's really cool. I mean, I saw that back when I started in crypto like 2 years ago. And I think I had opened an account, but I'd forgotten about it and forgot the password.
mm,
And I remember it saying, you know, you can pretty much write something, add some value somehow and get paid for it. And I wrote some sort of poem or something and I threw it out there or something
mm.
I thought maybe could be profound. But I never was able to go back and check and see if it did really well or not, or I have no
Oh no.
idea. It's out there somewhere, but I thought it was a really cool site at the time, but I haven't really been back on as much. So you've sort of brought some light to it again, just reading about your posts and stuff. So that's really cool. And so your sister, so she's obviously involved in crypto as well. So that's pretty cool. And how did the two?
Kind of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we don't really talk about crypto too much on our show. Every once in a while, we
Okay.
more just talk about kind of random life topics. So we take audience questions the week before. So we'll post the topic out, and then we just kind of like every week has a little different theme, and then we just chat about whatever that theme is. So really, the crypto connection is that it's on Steam, and so you know, like we're earning crypto for our show. And sometimes she'll come with me to crypto conferences and whatnot, especially if they're Steam related, like if I'm speaking or something. Sometimes I'm just like, hey, I'm going to a cool city. Like, you know, you'd have a free room if you want to stay with me, you know, kind of thing. So we're really good friends. And so sometimes, yeah, she'll come with me. Or once we actually did a live Steam Sister show at a crypto event. And so that was kind of fun.
That's cool. Yeah. So that's really cool. Now, are you planning, like, does it take a long time to plan for a show and organize it? And how does that work for you with your sister? Like, do you have this really great chemistry where you guys can just wing it sort of thing, or do you have to really pre-plan it?
We totally wing it. Yeah. I mean, with my my YouTube, my Girl Gone Crypto stuff, I obviously I'm doing research and planning out stuff if I'm doing interviews with CEOs of different companies and blah, blah, but for our show, we just pick a topic, and usually I end up writing all the questions if to fill in the ones that when we don't have enough audience questions. And so she often doesn't even know what the questions are before we start. We just can roll. It's really fun.
Cool. That's really cool. That's actually, I would say, a talent, there's a gift there. So that's very cool. I'll have to watch more of them. I haven't had time to see too many since I've gotten to know about you and your sister and your show. So I look forward to doing that for sure. So then with crypto related stuff for you, this has been a big change of life for you then, getting into it. So you got involved how long ago?
So I got involved in crypto kind of early mid 2017. I had heard of it before. I have actually some close friends that have been Bitcoin miners since 2011. And so they'd been telling me to buy Bitcoin for years, and I wish I'd listened to them. But I really got into the space a little bit more like I said, early mid 2017. So, which was a really interesting time to get in and actually be there for the big bull run and see all of that go down. So I'm glad that I was able to kind of see that before this big long winter that we've been in.
Seriously. That's about when I got in. I got in around August of 2017. So I understand what you're saying. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of people that have came into the space kind of after that. It's I don't think they really get how much energy there is in the space during a bull run.
Right.
It's insane.
Just to see that free market, we saw a true open free market and what that was like. And we may never see that again. It was extraordinary. It was such excitement to connect with the human energy moving at that velocity. It was extraordinary. It really was. I would sit there because I was trying to learn just the trading aspect of it and how things were done. And I would go on and I'd watch it just shoot right up and shoot right down. And I thought, oh my God, this is insane. This is the power of the people, right? Anyway, very, very cool. Very fun.
Yeah, it's kind of fun heading.
What was the first thing you invested in? Can I ask? Or what's your favorite coin?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great questions. So the first thing I invested in was some Bitcoin, but actually I invested in Steam pretty early because Steam was really how I got more involved in crypto because, like I said, I heard about it, but I didn't really have a reason that it needed to be in my life. You know what I mean? There wasn't really anything that was, bringing me into the space until I stumbled across Steam and started earning crypto for posting. And that just totally led me down the rabbit hole because then I was like, oh, well, how is this money created? Why does it have value? Now, what do I do with it? What is an exchange? It opened the door for all these questions once I actually had some crypto in my hands and I had to figure out what to do with it,
Right.
And so I definitely bought some Steam pretty early on when I joined the platform because I was really excited, just about what I was experiencing. And I'm a big proponent of know what you're investing in and doing your research. And at that time, I was so new to crypto that I think I also invested in Neo and some other random things, but I was kind of I don't know how to really differentiate what makes a project good and what doesn't at this point in time. So I was I'm just going to stick to what I know. And I know Steam is something I'm actually using. So I'll invest in that. And then I was I feel Bitcoin and Litecoin, I bought some of the, Ethereum, some of the major players as well. Cause I was okay, these have been pretty well established. I feel pretty confident investing in these. And then, kind of as my crypto knowledge and experience has expanded, I know a little bit more about what to look for to see if a project is worth investing in or not. So, I feel a little more confident doing that now than I did in the beginning. But just in general, I think it's really important that people don't just buy something because they're oh, it's going up, other people are buying it, but they understand really the utility of what that token's doing and why long-term they think it's a good investment. So
Yeah, it's really wise to do it that way, and especially when you say you were already involved in STEAM and invested, and you're almost partially investing in yourself because you had a show on there. So that's probably a wise thing to do. I know talking to investors or people who are, really great traders, they have a really certain protocol that they use when they do a trade and invest in anything, and they're very careful. It's not just some quick emotional, you know, um, decision to make. It's carefully thought out. There's very little emotion involved, in fact. And so, yeah, that's good. That's really good. And I'm sure it's paying off for you to have done it that way, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I think that with any kind of community or social platform, like the longer that you are involved with it, the more kind of followers is maybe not the right word, but just like the larger your community gets. So being consistently on the same platforms for long periods of time definitely
Yeah.
definitely helps. But one thing you just said about trading that I think is so true, and this is why I'm terrible at trading, is like the emotion. Is every time I try, I feel like I'm way too emotionally invested, and I'm like, okay,
Sure.
what's going on? And I'm like, oh, this is just too much of a roller coaster for me. So
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
for sure. You're a hodler. That's what my T-shirt is. This is Hodl brand. They're out of Toronto, actually. Dave owns the company, and but yeah, you know what? There's a bit of everyone in the space, and hodling is a very conservative, but probably on the long term a good payoff. So trading too. I think there are great traders out there, and they know what they're doing. A lot, those that are doing very well. And it is based on emotion. It's something you really have to be careful with if you don't really know. But
I
I,
think you
I
have
love
to.
learning. Sorry, I love learning just a little bit because I have a meetup and I have members, and I really wanted to just understand better, all parts of the community. So I thought if I learn it and I do it myself, I will know, have a better idea of what it means. So anyway, it's fun.
I
It's
love
fun.
that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So cool. So what are some projects that you really like out there?
So I think, like, for me, I really try to look at projects that are helping to make crypto easier for people, right? So the
Right.
everyday person, like what kind of things are going to kind of almost like dumb down crypto and make it seem more approachable.
Mhm.
And so I'm a huge fan of Lolly, I think, for that reason, because it's
Oh, yeah,
probably
yeah.
the easiest on ramp to crypto ever, right? Like
Yeah.
you can just install a plugin and start earning Bitcoin just for your regular shopping. And so I think that if I'm gonna be like telling my friends about crypto, that's a really easy thing that they could start doing, especially like because my kind of history with crypto was recognizing the power of actually owning some and how that made me more curious about it. And so within that, I'm like, okay, well, if they suddenly have like a little bit of Bitcoin because they've been shopping with Lolly, then hopefully maybe that'll start some of those same conversations for them
Mhm.
instead of just hearing me, talk about it. But in terms of other projects, like I think like Edge Wallet is really cool. Like just certain like Shapeshift, like wallets that really try to make it seem more user friendly. I think are also cool projects that I like to support too.
Yeah, I have Edge Wallet too, and got to meet Paul Pewey, the CEO of Edge Wallet, a couple times. Great wallet. I really like it. It is easy to use, and the interface is nice, and just the fact that you can do swaps, you can exchange coin
Hmm.
for coin right on your wallet. I know other wallets are doing that as well, but yeah, really great stuff for sure. Um, what else? So what else?
Okay.
Like, yeah, like so you're on Twitter
Hmm.
and Steam and anything else that you're involved in with blockchain related or not. It doesn't have to be, but
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel as well, where I right now I'm mostly doing interviews on my channel, but I also will sometimes do tutorials or even project reviews or different things like that. And so I kind of have like a little mixed bag on there. But yeah, so I'm on YouTube. I mean, I'm also on like LinkedIn and you know, uh, what else? Instagram, and I'm on a few other decentralized sites too besides Steam. Like I'm also on Somi and Float, and so
Okay, how do you like Float?
I actually really like it. It's kind of like Reddit meets Facebook meets Twitter meets Patreon. Like I think they've done a good job of kind of making a lot of different types of content accessible
Right.
on there, and like getting to hear more about their roadmap. Like one thing that I haven't seen any of these decentralized sites do yet is have something similar to Facebook communities, and I think that could be really cool. And so like I know Steam's working on communities right now, but like Float's also planning to have that kind of functionality, and Float has live streaming, and you can directly upload short, like 1-2 minute videos, which a lot of these other decentralized sites don't have. So I think just in general, like the user experience has been really clean and simple, but also just the community is really strong. Like that's part of why I like being a part of these alternative platforms, is because they might have a smaller user base, obviously, than like your Twitter and Instagram and places like that. But the people that are on there love that platform, and they're like stoked about it, and they're stoked that you're there. And it's like the engagement and the interaction levels that I get on those platforms are usually like really, really good, because for like the number of followers versus the amount of like comments and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
it's just fun to get to like know those more like niche communities a little bit more too, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I actually had somebody reach out to me on the back end on Twitter, one of the influencers, to join Float, and I'll check it out. I just haven't had time. Had a busy day, but I would like to check it out. It looks really cool. I never know in Canada what is accepted here or not, like what we can board onto. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's like, like the Spend app we can't, and anyway, Lolly we can't. So
Oh, that's true.
yeah,
That's right.
but eventually I hope. So we'll see. But I will definitely check that one out. And yeah, I agree. The community does look good. Community is really important. I think that's a very important factor. It just shows, I don't know, it shows the energy behind a project, a team, and what it attracts, right? And law of attraction, I guess. But yeah, so
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, I think so. I don't know. I say weird things sometimes.
No, I love that. I think that truly though, that's a great point. So I'm friends with the founders of Float, Aaron and Kingsley, and
Okay, cool.
they have just amazing energy. Like they're both just, they work so hard. They do so much, and like helping to grow the space, and they host the big Las Vegas Bitcoin meetup, and they do all of these great things. And I think that's a huge part of why Float has been growing at the momentum that it has, is because everyone loves them, and they trust them and know like, hey, if these people are behind it, they're going to do a good job, and so I definitely think that the energy of the people behind a project can very much influence how it goes.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. That's awesome. That's good to know. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. Yeah. So where are you off to? Anywhere particular? Any conferences or meetups coming up?
I'm trying to decide where all I want to go. There's so many events and conferences. It's hard to choose.
I know.
Sometimes, but I think I'm definitely going to go to Bitcoin 2020. I'm on the West Coast, and so West Coast events are like a little bit easier for me to maybe get to, quickly. But also, I mean, Consensus in New York is such a big one. I'll probably try to make it to that.
That looks good. I haven't been to that one. I might go.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that that's like kind of the big one for the year. Yeah. But I feel like people say that about a lot of different conferences. I know. I'm definitely thinking about going to Toronto, actually, if they do Futurist again.
Go to it. It is actually really, really good. And I've talked to people who've done most of the conferences, well, certainly a lot of the conferences out there, and they rated Futurist as one of their number one to go to. So I really enjoyed it. It was my very first one I ever went to, and it was amazing. And I went to the last one last year. was great. Like Lori Laparillo, she's the organizer, her and her sister, and they do an amazing job, and they just have it so well organized. The whole event, the venue is really cool. It's on an island, or certainly by the water in Toronto, right downtown. And the first year we went, one of the evening events was this tall ship that pulled up, and you had to get a ticket for it, of course, but you had dinner, and you could see this whole entire, almost like white linen, it looked like, with dinner and served with all the waiters and waitresses, and this tall ship just pulls up and everyone's getting on and off they go. And it was just one thing after another like that. Like last year they had helicopter rides, and
oh my gosh,
it's fun. They have cotton candy, and then they have like this big outdoor lounge area with palm trees and the cabana pool. And
I saw that looked really cool.
It's good. So the venue itself is fantastic. The organization of all the social events are really well done, and they're great, and they're really important, because that's where you can really relax and sort of chill out and get to know each other, right? And and of course a lot of great speakers. So anyway, a little plug for Futurist. I'm a little impartial because it is Canadian, but it is a very good it is a good one for sure.
And I love Toronto too. I was there in 2019 speaking at another crypto event, a smaller crypto event than Futurist. But it was awesome. I'd never been to Toronto before, and it was so fun. Like we talked earlier, about like staying out late at conferences, which usually I am like in bed at 9.
Right.
Like in my normal life, I do not stay up late, but at conferences I do. And I swear the nightlife in Toronto was it was so fun. Like I was out with some people doing karaoke from the conference, and I didn't even realize it was like 4 a.m. I was like, what? We've been here for 6 hours? Like, it was just, Toronto's a great city.
It is a great city. It's changed a lot, and they've really improved it quite a bit, especially for younger, like I'm a little bit older than you, but definitely the younger generation, they're having a really great time there. There's so much for them to do. When we were there for Futurist, they had the DDP, the Decentralized Dance Party. And I don't know if you've ever done that, but it's amazing. It's really fun. Like you dance all through the streets, and they have it all mapped out where you're going to walk, and everyone has a boom box. Well, not everyone, but a lot of them have boom boxes, and they're all connected to the same song. So this song is playing throughout all these boom boxes, and it's like a club. Like it's that loud. And you walk through everywhere, and you just dance. And of course, some of them are dressed up in like banana suits and all kinds of stuff. And it's a lot of fun, a lot of high energy. Sorry, you were going to say something.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that I love the DDP guys. They live like maybe an hour and a half from where I live, so I'm actually friends with them. And so like I will like see them at like so I live across the border like in the US, but Vancouver is sorry, what?
No, okay, sorry. Where are you? So you're in the West Coast, close to Vancouver, but in the States.
But yeah, just right across the border. I can like almost see Canada from my living room. Like that's how close I am.
Okay. Yeah, you're not far from the DDP guys. That's right.
No, they're awesome. I think they're taking a little break right now, but I hope that they, plan another event soon, because I actually haven't even been to one, even though I've like known them for a couple years. It's just never worked out for me to actually go to one. So
you have to come to Futurist, and you get to for sure, because I know the organizer, he can't come to the States.
That's true. That's right. I forgot about that.
So, it would be hard for them to organize one in the States unless there's somebody who really, he's got to be there though.
I know.
Yeah, kind of makes it.
Totally.
So you'll have to come to Futurist then. That'll do it. For sure. Yeah, very cool. So what else do I want to ask you? So you were talking about some of the projects that you like. Are there any other ones that you would want to mention? You mentioned a couple. So do you work? Do you do any influencing for any projects?
Yeah, good question. So I right now, like every once in a while, I will do some sort of like sponsored something with someone. But honestly, like for the most part, I'm kind of staying away from it. Like I kind of like just being able to like provide value and not worry about being like overly shilly. And so for me right now, like I'm still working like a full-time
Sure.
job and like
Yeah.
all of that, and I'm fine with that. Like I work a lot of hours by, you know, doing both, but I'd almost rather build it that way where, you know, I'm kind of like slower and more intentional about bringing on sponsors and doing different things, because I think that there's, you know, there's a lot of opportunity in this space for content creators. There's a lot of really great companies to partner with, but I think you have to be really careful too, because, you know, I would hate it if I ever was like, oh yeah, this project is awesome, and then someone somehow lost money on it and then they bought it because I said so. You know, I'm so cautious and careful when it comes to even people that I bring on my channel, because even if it's, you know, like they're not paying me, it's just they're coming, you know, I'm just interviewing them, it's still giving them a platform. So I do a ton of research before I bring anyone on, just because I think you have to be careful, you know, in the crypto space. There's a lot of really great projects, but there's definitely some bad actors out there too.
Yeah, and it's like the old saying goes, it is the Wild West. So I mean, it's called wild for a reason, right? So good points. I mean, you have to be careful. You have to do your own research and trust your gut. I always say this. You really do. I mean, your gut will tell you. And but like anything, you do the best you can. You vet as much as you can, and you hope for the best. And if things go wrong, you know, it can happen too. So it's, you know, I was involved in a project. It was the debit Visa card, and I'm going to bring it up because you know what? It was one of the first cards ever created, and it was done quite well. The team behind it is amazing. I still know the people; they're very talented people. The person who brought me to the project, I hold in high regard till this day. But the inventor behind it, everything was great about the project. Everything worked out really, really well. Everything was lined up, legit, legal. I checked it all out. It was good. But that person pulled out at the very end of it. And it's not because of the project was lacking in any way. It was a choice this person made and pursued another project where he probably thought he could maybe do better with, or do, maybe this one wasn't the big thing for him. I don't know. But it kind of left everyone hanging, and just, I mean, when he just walked away from it, it left a bit of a sour note to it. But it didn't mean the person was a fraud. It just, it happened that way, right? So that you don't see coming. You can't see that coming. It's it just whatever. But you live and learn. And but I agree. You do have to really check out, you know, who you're working with, and I think to give it time. Definitely give it some time and see how it unfolds and how they do. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. So.
No, I think that's, I mean, yeah, you make great points. Like you can do all of your research and then things can happen that are totally could never be predicted or out of your control. And I think that, you know, like no one would, I think that people can have empathy for that. Like, you know, like, hey, obviously this is how things went down, you know, and like you said, like we're in the Wild West, so there's going to continue to be stories like that, you know.
Sure, sure. Like I just joined Corona Games, and this is quite an opportunity to be with the Corona family because they're venturing into the blockchain space as well. And they're starting out with the gaming app, which will be very different than what we know of gaming, but they're going to be adding to it as they go along. So they're coming in little, you know, steps like this. Again, there are going to be people who probably might think that, oh, this can't be the Corona family or whatever, you know, and that's fine. And that's fine. And I get it. And it's the space we're in, and that's okay. Time will tell. And you know, in any new venture for anybody, it doesn't matter if it's the Corona family or anybody, it's a new venture. So whether or not it's going to be successful is yet to be determined, right? These things have to be built and be created. And so, you know, so many successful people have built up so many projects, but doesn't mean they all succeed, right? So
Right.
Anyway, yeah, it's fun.
And I think that's like wise words, I think, heading into 2020, and we've got the halvening coming up, and anytime there's a big bull run, you see way more people flooding into the space, way more projects getting started. And so I think you're right, just kind of keep an eye, know what you're looking for. But it's exciting. That's good. That's what we want. We want lots of development, know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It is exciting. I love being in this space. I just love everything about it. I don't know what it is. I know what it is, but it's a different energy. It's a different feeling. It's a new paradigm. It's such a great way of co-creating. And it's definitely similar. Like, I'm like you, where I do have a full-time job as well, but I'm eventually moving out of it and going into the blockchain space. And that's what I'm building up towards right now. So, because that's where I want to be. That's where my passion is, right? Do you find you get yourself talking about it often with people and you realize, okay, I better either stop or slow down or change the subject because you're really not into it like I am?
No, 100%. And
Right?
it's funny because sometimes I'll find myself and I'm like, oh, wait, I just used the word blockchain. They don't know what that actually means.
Right.
I just use the word decentralized. That means nothing to them. And so I have to scale back, especially since, like the Super Bowl commercial about all these people have been like, how did that happen? And so then I've been explaining oh, I'm on this platform called Steam. And they're like, so try to even explain what that has been interesting,
We need some sort of manual, Bitcoin for dummies or blockchain for dummies or something, right? Seriously.
I bet it probably is out there.
It probably is. I'm sure it is. As we say this, or as we say it, someone's creating it. But we do need it. I mean, it is pretty new. It's new terminology. It's new everything. And people have no idea, truly have no idea, no understanding of even their own system, to be honest, and how it works.
Yes. And honestly, I think that is the biggest thing is when people are, well, why would I want to use Bitcoin or crypto? The conversation needs to start even before talking about crypto and talk about the monetary system and how it's broken. Because if you don't think that the system is broken, then why would you be looking for an alternative? I mean, I guess that's maybe cryptocurrency versus blockchain. Like blockchain tech, you can be building really cool things on top of, but actual cryptocurrency, if they think everything's fine with the US dollar, and then, they're not necessarily going to understand why Bitcoin would even matter.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Pointing out the facts, the points of their own system, our own, the system that we are living in, and the faults, and where it's headed. I mean, if those things are explained more, and the understanding of how it works and how it's not working, it then lends a conversation to what is the solution. What kind of solutions are there, where you can then take them down that road of, there's, think about technologies that are transparent, and it's just a matter of how you process, how you position it in the conversation, I think. Because if I learn it, anyone can learn it, honestly, right? So,
I kind of feel the same way.
Right? And I don't even have tech-wise, I had a really hard time at first because I had to basically learn it all, because I wasn't very tech savvy. But yeah, I mean, if I can learn it, anyone can learn it. But you do have to have an interest. You do have to have that peak of curiosity on some level to want to learn, like anything, I suppose. But it's interesting. If we're in a world where a lot of people don't even understand the system that they're in, they don't even understand that their money is called fiat currency, or the fact that it's not backed by gold, which is a repetitive conversation that us crypto people have, then why would they have an interest to know anything else? Or how does that begin and where does that end, that kind of thinking? Right?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It is. And if they're thinking like that about their own system that they're in, or not thinking about it, and we're trying to introduce a whole new system to them, are they going to have any interest equally? Well, you have to have interest in yourself. You have to invest in yourself, and then have that, and to have interest, to want to know and learn. So we have to find ways of how do we poke people to start having interest, period, in their lives, in themselves, in their finances, in their money. I remember asking a question once to somebody, and I said, so you have this bank, this bank, this bank, this bank. You have 5 banks to choose from where you want to go banking. And they all have different things that they offer you, different, interest rates and promos and checking accounts, whatever. And I sit there and I go, isn't it all owned by the same damn people? You keep comparing each bank. So I said, do you ever think about who owns this bank or who owns that? Oh no, I've never really thought about it. Like, they literally never even thought about it. And I was there once too, right? Where I never really had to think about things like that. But it's like, isn't it just one system that creates all these banks and then kind of fool you because they know that it's going to attract different people, right? They have to market it that way. Anyway, I'm rambling on and digressing a little bit, but it's how my brain goes. So yeah, we have to pique curiosity with people, I think. And I don't know if we have to, but I think it's a problem.
I think that planting those seeds too, I think go a long way. And so one thing I think people maybe put too much pressure on themselves to explain everything and get them to really get it in that conversation. And so I think as a community, we tend to word vomit on people when we start talking about it, which then they get kind of scared off. And so I think just understanding that, research shows that someone has to hear something at least 7 times before it even starts to stick. And so don't feel so attached to them really getting it. Just feel good that you planted that seed about maybe issues with the monetary system or censorship that you're seeing online and maybe how that's not good, or just different things that actually tie into their life, and just understand that those seeds start to eventually accumulate into changing their social perspectives a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it is about planting seeds, right? And letting them grow. And we are definitely manipulated on so many levels and programmed on so many levels. So it's to unprogram, and that takes time. If it took years to program, it would take a long time to unprogram, I would imagine. I mean, it was for me to unprogram. I had to, I certainly researched so many things and just became more curious, of course, So that's not that really, and that doesn't really mean that, and okay, oh wow.
Yep.
Yeah. I wonder where and when the seed was planted for me. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, I had someone in my life that was more of an anarchist, probably. He didn't probably call himself that, but now looking back, that was, kind of his ideology, I would think, and just started asking questions, and that kind of got me thinking. And I used to be very politically involved in the Libertarian Party a long time ago. And that was an interesting experience. I think that's kind of what started me down the rabbit hole, really. It's because actually before that I was involved in the Republican Party, and getting deeper into that, because I was a campaign manager for a state house race. And so I was in more of these higher level conversations, and I realized that all the things they were accusing the Democrats of doing, they're, moving district lines, and they're doing this, they're doing that, blah, 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 all this, they're not cheating, but all this dirty play. And then once I got into these kind of higher level strategic meetings, in that party, I was like, you guys are doing the same things. And so it kind of disenchanted me from the whole thing. And I was like, this is messed up. And so that's kind of when I got more into the libertarian side of things and was a really big Ron Paul supporter. And then that led down the rabbit hole, I would say.
Yeah, it's a real eye-opener, isn't it? My stepdad was an ambassador for many years, and he served on the UN Assembly for 10 years.
Wow.
And he always told me, he said, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. And it's almost like today, it's like none of what you hear or see, because things can be really doctored too, you know, even in your visual. But yeah, he always said that. He always said that. I mean, he's an interesting man who lived an interesting life and met very, very, well, prominent people and whatnot and stuff. But just, and he always said, be very careful what you see on the phone. So
Oh.
back then, and back, you know, many years ago, he used to say that. Anyway, it's interesting. But yeah, it is all the same game. It doesn't matter what party it is it?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's I think when people can realize, if they can get to a point where they realize that the two-party system that we have in the US is really controlled by the same people behind the scenes. And when you look at policies and be like, oh, wow, you know, presidents on both sides of the aisle have had very similar types of, you know, things happen. I think that if someone can realize that, that's a huge stepping stone to kind of going down this line of questioning, right? Because if we're talking about getting people more educated on issues with the monetary system, if we want to take even one step further back, it's issues with, you know, with our government and with the way the entire system is set up, not just the monetary system. So it's a big conversation, but yeah, I guess just get back to planting those seeds, you know, and I think listening too, right? Like if someone, like, listen to what they're curious about and what they're asking, and then you can generally have really good conversations, I find too.
Yeah, that's a skill. Listening is such a great skill to learn, and it can take a long time to truly learn it. It really is, and it is so valuable when you learn to listen better and improve.
I'm still working on it.
So valuable. Oh, so am I. Oh my gosh, absolutely. It's so valuable when you learn that skill, right? Yeah, you hear a lot more, I guess.
Yeah, and I think if you, right, because if you don't, then it's almost like you have, like, not an agenda, but like you have your own things you want to say, and like how fun is that, like, versus actually like co-creating a moment with someone, you know? So
yeah, very true, very, very true. Nicely said too. So where you are, like up here in Canada, we speak two languages. We speak English and French. Random thought came in my head. I don't know why I'm saying this, but I was thinking of that when you were, I don't know, you were saying something. So you're in the West Coast. Is it one language out there, or do you have, oh no, you have Spanish. So is it used a lot where you are, English and Spanish?
Not really. It's mostly English. Like I'd say Spanish is definitely the second language I would say that's used, and that's what a lot of people, like, if they learn a second language, you know, like maybe in school or something. Like I took 3 years of Spanish, you know, when I was in high school and college, and so that's not too many people take French or other, you know, language classes. It's more commonly Spanish, but it's definitely not like Canada where it's like, you know, on, you know, the boxes at the store have both languages.
Yes,
and
yeah, we're bilingual. Like that. Yeah, we are very much so in Ottawa because we're the national, we're the capital in the nation. So it's mostly government, so it's definitely bilingual, and we're right beside Quebec as well. Toronto is a lot of English, and Vancouver is actually, I think Vancouver is a lot of Mandarin and Asian.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Either Chinese or definitely Mandarin and English. And Arabic too. I think that's one of the third most speaking languages, third or fourth as well. Surprise, Canada. Yeah. We're such a melting pot up here. But okay,
no, I'm actually Canadian. If I don't know if anyway, I'm a dual citizen, so all of my family is Canadian actually.
Oh, you're Canadian? So, where are you from? Yeah. I didn't know.
I was born in the States, but my like all of my parents, my relatives, my grandparents, everyone's from Canada. And so like mostly BC, like Kamloops and Vancouver Island and places like that, but Calgary as well. Got some family over there.
That's awesome. You're Canadian, eh? Cool.
Yeah.
So I went to Vancouver Island about 5 or 6 years ago and loved, I mean, I've been to Vancouver prior to that, but I hadn't been to the island until about 5 or 6 years ago. And I love it. It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. We went to Cathedral Forest and all these, and Tofino. My cousin actually lives in Tofino now. uh, what that's like the surfing, one of the surfing big cities in the world. It's such a cool town. But yeah, anyway, a striking island. Absolutely. So many different places on that island to see and experience. Yeah. I had no idea it was that cool. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
I always think of it as like one of the most beautiful places in the world. It's just,
Yeah.
it's got a lot of really pristine beauty, you know,
Very
which
much
is,
so. We went to a hot spring. Like we took a boat and we ended up in this hot spring, and you walk through these woods where the trees were massive, like the size of this room I'm sitting in, you know, and you walk through this really in this like mystical and overwhelming forest, and you'd end up at a hot spring, and then you hop in a boat and you, I don't know, you boat somewhere else and you see something else extraordinary and puffins all over the place and whales jumping, and you're just like, where am I? Like, this place is pretty sweet. Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful experience. So that's cool. You're Canadian. I had no idea. Very, very cool. Yeah. Tells me at the very end, oh, by the way, I'm Canadian.
I had to fit that in, you know.
Yeah. I think probably that's why I brought up the French language speaking thing. We were leading to this. So anyway, very cool. I'm so glad I had you on. I know I don't want to keep you too long. We've been on for a little while here. By the way, I did mention it to you earlier. I really love your background. I love that woman, and it's very goddess-like. So I like that. That's cool. Very cool.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's exactly how I feel about it too. Like when I was working with a designer, I was like, I wanted, so the C is like crypto and then the little hash marks on it. I don't know how well you can see it, but
see it,
I was like,
yeah.
I really want it to have this kind of like feminine, like goddess kind of energy. And so I'm so glad you said that came through to you as well, because that's what I love about it as well.
Totally. In fact, when I saw it, I was like, if she didn't have that, I would want that. Like, I love it, and I love that whole goddess idea. And it's, yeah, no, I can go on about that, but I won't. It's beautiful. It's very beautiful. So well done on that one. I'll have to work on a logo. Yeah, and I love it. You have the C for the crypto. That's, of course, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a moon. I don't know how many times, like, if people can tell it's a C or not, but that was kind of the original intent.
Well, you're right about the moon, because it has a shading on the one side and it's brighter on the other as well. That's awesome. Cool. Well,
I love kind of mystical stuff. So anyway, it's just kind of fun to play.
Yeah, I'm like that too. I love it. Like I'm staying here at my son's right now, with him temporarily, and he's in the country. And I go outside, and he's got a puppy, and I take the puppy out at night, and I look up, and the stars are phenomenal out here in the country, just gorgeous. And I'm that kind of person who could stare at them like forever. So I love all that kind of stuff. Very, very, very cool. Well, anyway, thank you so much for being on the show. And I'd love to have you back on at some point. This was a lot of fun getting to know you. And could you just tell the viewers where they can find you? And I'll also post the links down below.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. You know, like I said, I've been like following you for a while, so it's so great to actually get to chat and hang out. So I'll have to have you on my show sometime too, which would be fun.
It, for sure.
Yeah. So where people can find me, you know, I'm pretty much wherever people hang out online. But yeah, YouTube, if you just search Girl Gone Crypto, you'll find me. Twitter, same thing. Instagram, LinkedIn, all those places. So
awesome. And I'll post it down below this video too for everyone who wants to go and check you out everywhere. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Lea. By the way, my daughter's name is Lea too. So very cool name.
Oh, that's so fun. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.